One shipyard in Virginia builds every nuclear-powered aircraft carrier the U.S. Navy owns. Not most of them, every single one. Right now, 3 of them are under construction there at the same time. And all 3 are competing for space around a single heavy-lift crane. This isn't a story about a shipyard that simply got too good for anyone else to compete with. According to the historians who've actually dug into the archives, this specific monopoly wasn't inevitable, and it wasn't really about geography or engineering at all. It was built deliberately through a cancelled contract, a set of political favors, and a decade of accumulating trust between one company and its only customer. And right now, that 70-year-old arrangement is the single biggest bottleneck in the entire U.S. Navy's shipbuilding program, holding up the delivery of ships that already cost more than $10 billion each. The company is Newport News Shipbuilding, part of Huntington Ingalls Industries, based on the James River in Virginia. It is the sole designer, builder, and refueler of every nuclear-powered aircraft carrier the United States operates, all 10 in-service Nimitz-class carriers, and every Ford-class carrier now under construction. It's also one of only 2 shipyards in the entire country capable of building nuclear submarines. This isn't a small or easily replaceable operation. The shipyard spans more than 550 acres and currently employs roughly 26,000 workers, making it the single largest industrial employer in the entire state of Virginia, supporting an even larger regional shipbuilding workforce of nearly 31,000 people. So here's the question worth actually digging into, instead of just accepting the obvious assumption. Most people assume this concentration exists because only one shipyard in America has ever had the unique facilities, the unique location, or the unique engineering expertise required to pull this off. A historian who went back through the shipyard's own internal archives, contracts, and company records found something very different from that assumption. In 1949, Newport News began building a planned supercarrier called the USS United States. 5 days after the ceremonial keel-laying, the Pentagon canceled the entire contract in the middle of a budget fight between the Air Force and the Navy over the future of American military strategy. The shipyard had already sunk more than $20 million into the project, and its yard president called the cancellation genuinely disappointing. Instead of walking away from each other after that failure, the Navy and the shipyard got closer. When Congress approved a new carrier 2 years later, the Forrestal, Newport News won the contract largely because of the design work it had already done on the cancelled ship. Engineers had already refined the aircraft elevators, the weapons elevators, the fueling systems, all of it reusable. And then the shipyard earned a real, measurable edge on top of that head start, completing the Forrestal in 38.5 months, while other Navy-linked yards building sister ships in the exact same class took anywhere from 43 to 52 months for the same job. Here's the detail that changes the whole story, though. Newport News was not the only shipyard chasing nuclear capability at the time. A completely different yard in Camden, New Jersey, independently developed its own nuclear construction techniques for a nuclear-powered merchant ship, and separately won the contract for an entire class of conventional carriers that same year. A third yard, near Boston, won the contract to build the Navy's first nuclear-powered cruiser. Multiple American shipyards had real, demonstrated nuclear shipbuilding expertise in the 1950s, developed independently and in parallel. Only one of them kept getting the carrier contracts, year after year, decade after decade. According to the historian who documented this, the decision to award Newport News the contract for the first nuclear carrier, the USS Enterprise, in 1957, wasn't because of uniquely held nuclear expertise, wasn't about dry dock size, and wasn't even about political connections. A sitting U.S. Senator from Virginia, one of the most powerful men in Congress at the time, couldn't secure other carrier contracts for the yard around the same period, no matter how hard he pushed. What actually mattered was the relationship itself. Newport News had started investing in nuclear engineering years before any formal contract existed, sending engineers to a national laboratory in Tennessee back in 1953. A full year before the government had even formally announced it was pursuing nuclear-powered surface ships at all. By 1956, the shipyard had sent nearly 200 people into nuclear reactor testing programs across 2 different states, training welders in specialized techniques for reactor piping that took years to certify. That early bet, combined with a decade of accumulated trust from the United States and Forrestal contracts, is what historians point to as the actual explanation. Not physics, not geography, but a specific self-reinforcing relationship between one seller and its only possible buyer, compounding year after year until competitors simply stopped being considered. And here's where that 70-year-old arrangement is actually causing real current problems, not just historical curiosity. Newport News is building 3 Ford-class carriers at once right now. The future USS John F. Kennedy, USS Enterprise, and USS Doris Miller, priced at roughly $13, $14, and $15 billion each. All 3 are behind schedule, and not primarily because of money. Late arriving components for the Enterprise disrupted the build order in dry dock, forcing work to happen out of its planned sequence. Then the ship itself ended up occupying the yard's single final assembly area, the one physical space served by its heavy lift crane. That single bottleneck pushed the delivery of the next carrier in line, Doris Miller, back by 2 full years, from 2032 to 2034, even after the shipyard hired more than 6,600 new workers in a single year and raised its overall output by 14%. More hiring didn't fix it, because more hiring can't create a second crane or a second assembly bay out of thin air. The lead ship of this entire class, the USS Gerald R. Ford, was delivered roughly 2 years late, with construction costs climbing by nearly $3 billion over the original estimate, driven largely by new technology, including an electromagnetic catapult system and advanced weapons elevators that had never been built at this scale before, and that took years longer than planned to get working reliably. The full Ford-class program is now projected to cost over $37 billion across the entire planned class, with each individual ship running close to $13 billion on average. And workforce turnover keeps compounding all of it. Government auditors estimate 50 to 60% of first-year new hires at the shipyard leave within a year, forcing Huntington Ingalls to compete with other shipyards for already experienced tradespeople instead of training newcomers from scratch, since tradespeople generally need 3 to 5 full years just to reach real proficiency on this kind of specialized high-stakes work. So here's where this actually lands. The single most powerful class of warship the United States builds runs entirely through one shipyard, employing one crane crew on one stretch of Virginia riverbank. And according to the people who've actually traced how that happened, it was never really about that shipyard being the only one technically capable of the job. It was about a cancelled contract in 1949 that somehow made the relationship stronger instead of ending it. A head start in Idaho and Tennessee before nuclear power was even official policy. and a decade of accumulated trust that quietly outlasted every other yard's competing claim, one contract at a time. 70 years later, the entire U.S. carrier fleet's construction schedule now depends on how fast a handful of massive ship sections can physically move through a single assembly bay, served by a single crane, no matter how much money or how many new hires get thrown at the problem. The most powerful navy on Earth builds its most important ships one at a time through a single gate, because of decisions made before most of the people working there today were even born. If you want to see what happens when an entirely different kind of engineering monopoly gets seriously challenged for the first time in decades, that video's on your screen right now. Thanks for watching.